If you have watched the Battle of Gondor, you will know why The Lord of the Rings is the top deal in the film industry. The Battle of Gondor can be called the top battle among all the war scenes in film history. It is also the most seen I have ever seen. Even the Battle of the Five Armies, which was refilmed later, could not surpass the grand battle with the largest number of people. The hundreds of thousands of orcs arrived at the gate of Gangwo city. This time they made a big fanfare and were well equipped. The orcs had occupied dozens of engineering ladders. Pushed to the front of the battle, the White City of Gondor is backed by a cliff. It is the most powerful defensive fortress of mankind. They also have potent defense equipment. The battle begins. The orcs use projectors to fire the first shot at humans, and humans also use the same method to fight back. After the enemy's first wave of plot attacks, the two sides were indifferent. Soon the orcs sent 9 Nazgul to launch a surprise attack on the humans in the air, destroying some of the siege weapons on the city wall. At the same time, the guards were also attacked by the Nazgul. Upon seeing this, Gandalf's military morale was disturbed. He immediately encouraged the soldiers to fight back. He used sling gas to smash the engineering ladders that were approached individually. The ring wraiths continued to circle in the air to harass, and one after another destroy the human siege weapons. The city defenders below were frightened. Taking advantage of the chaos in the human military, the behemoth pushed all the heavy siege ladders down to the edge of the city wall. Facing a salvo of thousands of arrows, the behemoth showed no intention of flinching. The siege truck carried a large number of orcs and logged in. The city wall did not expect the orcs to challenge the human defense line at the beginning of the battle. Even many orcs drove battering rams and launched an attack on the city gate. However, White City is the most defensive fortress of humans in Middle-earth. Naturally, the city gate will not be easily defeated by the enemy. Seeing this wave of orcs attacking, they were directly harvested by the bows and arrows on the city wall. Many orc leaders saw this and immediately stopped and changed their plans to let the giant beasts launch their ultimate weapon, the Gelong hammer. All the orcs cheered impassionedly on the high wall. Amidst the huge cheers and cheers, the hammer was quickly pushed to the front of the gate. 5 giant beasts struggled to pull the rope and began to smash towards the gate. Gandalf immediately dispatched the frontline troops to go back to guard the city gate. This war has gone from dusk to night. Under constant collisions, the door was finally breached. The strong sense of oppression made the soldiers start to fight. Shi Lucien Chui, a 10-man monster with great courage, came in fully armed and killed the orc army like a tide. Humans could only retreat while fighting. Daphne also joined the close combat with a staff in hand. They kept watch from night to dawn. Many people's houses had been burned, and the old, weak, women and children suffered heavy casualties. The wailing sound echoed throughout the castle, but all the soldiers did not flinch at all as long as they still had breath. Gandalf was sworn to protect his family to the death. He was intercepted by the Nazgul on the city wall with the leather bottle. He borrowed the spirit and directly drew the Morgul sword. Then it made a harsh sound and shook Gandalf's protection. He borrowed the spirit, waved the Morgul sword and prepared to strike. At the critical moment, the horns of the UN army suddenly sounded in the distance. The world spirit immediately changed its direction and flew to the front line riding the Hell Rescue Bird. Countless cavalry reinforcements slowly came to the battlefield from the horizon. After 3 days of running around, the reinforcements from the Luohan kingdom finally arrived. The king of the battlefield looked at the battlefield in the distance and visually inspected the number of orcs. Seeing the densely packed orcs approaching the city, all the cavalry were frightened before they even entered the battlefield. The leader of the orcs immediately ordered them to turn around and prepare to fight, but Rohan's cavalry would not choose because of fear. A tough guy on horseback who flinches will only fall on the way to the charge. The king is mobilizing in front of the soldiers before the battle. The king gives an order, and the cavalry of the Luohan kingdom rushes into the enemy group with the sound of the charging horn. It is a battle that cannot be surpassed to this day. The Battle of Middle-earth officially began. At the critical moment when Gondor was about to fall, distant reinforcements slowly came to the battlefield from the horizon. After 3 days of running, the cavalry of the Rohan kingdom finally arrived. The king of Gondor immediately visually observed the orcs. However, when they saw the number of orcs approaching the city, some of the cavalry who had not yet entered the battlefield were frightened. However, Rohan's cavalry would not choose to retreat because of fear. The tough guys on horseback would only fall on the way to charge. The king immediately sitting in front of the soldiers, the cavalry of Luohan kingdom, mobilized before the war to boost morale,